Regret doesn't vanish. It disguises itself. They'll tell you they're fine. They'll laugh louder, post brighter, flirt faster, and pretend life's never been better. But behind that perfect mask, there's a storm brewing, the kind of storm that starts quiet, like thunder hiding behind clouds, waiting for the night to fall before it hits. Now, imagine this. You're standing on a stage, and the crowd that once cheered your name suddenly goes silent. The spotlight that used to burn bright on you now swings to someone else. That's what they feel when you walk away with calm instead of chaos. They might pretend they don't miss the show, but trust me, when the curtain drops and the lights fade, regret starts whispering louder than any applause ever could. My friends, people don't always regret losing you the moment you leave. Sometimes regret comes late, like an echo that finally bounces back after the sound has long disappeared. They act like they've moved on, but their soul keeps rewinding. They'll remember your laugh in the middle of someone else's joke, your calm when chaos hits their new, perfect life, your silence when everyone else screams for attention. Here's the truth most folks don't want to face. Regret doesn't always look like pain. Sometimes it looks like pride. They hide it behind new people, new hobbies, new captions. They pretend the story's over, when deep down they're just rewriting it to make themselves feel like the hero. But the truth? You were the chapter they'll never top. Ego, Seneca once said, is the enemy of peace. And pride is just ego wearing perfume. It smells sweet, but it's poison to the soul. That's why they can't say it out loud. I miss you. I was wrong. I shouldn't have let you go. Instead, they play it cool. They'll post about how happy they are, talk about new beginnings, and act like the past didn't matter. But you can see it in the patterns. The sudden silence, the random memory reshares, the way they start talking like you again, dressing like you, even listening to the songs you once shared. It's funny, isn't it? They'll spend months convincing the world they're fine, only to realize they're still dancing to the rhythm you left behind. Like a candle trying to outshine the sun, they'll keep pretending they've moved on. But deep inside, they know. You were the warmth they can't replace. And here's the part that hits hard. They regret losing you, not when they see you broken, but when they see you healed, when you rise, when you glow, when you stop chasing and start living. That's when the silence starts haunting them. That's when every laugh you share without them becomes their punishment. So if you're sitting there wondering, do they regret it? Remember this. Silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes it means pain too loud to admit. You just have to stop waiting for them to say it and start seeing the signs they're trying so hard to hide. You're not crazy for still feeling something. You're human, but what makes you powerful is what you choose next. Because every time you refuse to chase, every time you hold your calm instead of your anger, you win. Type this in the comments right now. I choose peace. Say it again. Because when you choose peace, you become the mirror that forces them to see their chaos. So stay with me, folks. Let's decode their hidden regret together and remind them what real strength looks like. Number 1. The mask of I'm fine. Silence is never empty. It's just where truth hides when pride takes the mic. They say they're fine. They laugh. They go out. They post stories with friends, maybe even start seeing someone new. But deep down, they're performing. Every I'm good is an act. Every smile is staged. Because the truth is, nobody moves on that fast when something real ends. That calm exterior, it's armor. And the louder they pretend, the deeper the void underneath it. Imagine a cracked vase painted gold. From far away, it looks perfect, smooth, untouched. But get close enough, and you'll see the lines where it's shattered, the seams that can't quite hold what used to flow freely. That's them right now. They're holding the shape of who they used to be, but the life inside, the emotion, the warmth, the connection, leaks through the cracks. They're not healed, my friends. They're hiding. They wake up in the morning trying to outrun your memory. They scroll fast when your face shows up, hoping their heart doesn't skip like it used to. They tell themselves, "I'm better now, I'm done." But at night, when the noise dies down, when no one's there to watch, that voice in their head starts whispering what they've been running from. You lost something real. See, the human mind has a strange way of rewriting pain. It'll twist it, reshape it, call it freedom when it's really regret. They'll tell themselves stories like, "We just grew apart," or "It wasn't meant to be." But deep down, that's not truth. That's survival. Because admitting they miss you means admitting they made the wrong call. And that truth burns more than heartbreak ever did. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And they've lost that power. That's why they keep pretending. They can't control your peace, your silence, or your growth anymore. So they try to control the story. They act like nothing happened because it gives them the illusion of strength. But the stoic truth is this: real strength isn't pretending to feel nothing. It's facing what you feel without letting it rule you. Let me ask you something, my friends. Why do you think they need to act like they're fine? Why post more? Why go louder? Because silence terrifies them. The same silence that you've learned to master eats them alive. In silence, their mind replays everything: your calm, your laughter, your patience, the way you understood them without words. They start realizing they didn't just lose someone, they lost peace disguised as a person. But here's the lie most people believe: if they're not saying it, they don't feel it. Wrong. The ones who say the least often feel the most. Their quiet is heavy, their avoidance is loud, their distance is fear wearing a crown. And the biggest fear of all? That you've outgrown the place they left you in. Because nothing breaks a person's pride like seeing the one they walked away from rise without them. You ever seen someone lose something valuable and act like it was never worth much? That's what they're doing. They minimize you to feel lighter. They tell people it wasn't serious, that they're over it, that you were too much. But what they're really saying is, "I can't face what I lost, so I'll make it smaller." But energy doesn't lie, folks. You can't bury connection under fake confidence forever. It seeps out in the way they still check your page, the way they bring you up casually in conversations, pretending it's just small talk. It's not small talk, it's a confession wrapped in denial. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. Then why don't they just say it? Why can't they just admit it? Because regret and pride don't speak the same language. To admit they miss you means lowering the walls they built to protect their ego. And some people would rather live behind a lie than walk through the fire of truth. That's why you can't wait for their confession. You have to learn to see it in their silence, in their avoidance, in the way they try too hard to be unbothered. It's hard, I know, watching them act like you never mattered while every cell in your body remembers everything. But remember this: their pretending doesn't erase your value. You don't need their validation to prove your impact. You were real. And reality always echoes louder than denial. Think of it like this. You're the song they can't delete from their playlist. They might skip it for a while, but sooner or later something will remind them, and they'll press play again. A smell, a place, a moment, and boom, it all rushes back. The laughter, the late-night talks, the feeling of being understood. That's the power of authentic connection. It lingers. It doesn't fade because someone pretends. So don't let their silence make you question your worth. Let it confirm it, because when people hide their feelings, it's not because you don't matter, it's because you mattered too much. You touched parts of them they didn't even know existed, and losing that kind of connection leaves a mark no one can see, but everyone can feel. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't react. You observe, you stand tall in your calm and let their own conscience do the talking. They'll come to terms with it one day, but by then you'll be so far ahead in your peace that they'll only be watching from a distance. So rise. Don't let their act shake your center. You've got a life to build, peace to protect, and energy to grow. Let their "I'm fine" be the mirror that reminds you of how far you've come. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your silence already does that for you. Type this in the comments right now. I hold my peace. Say it out loud. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your calm isn't weakness. It's power, because when you choose not to play their game, you already won. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going even deeper. We'll uncover the one thing that makes them hide their regret, even when it's eating them alive. Number 2. Pride. The greatest actor of regret. Ego is the mask we wear to hide the pain of being wrong. My friends, pride is a strange thing. It walks into the room wearing confidence, but underneath, it's trembling. It'll tell the world, "I'm over it," while its heart whispers, "I wish I wasn't." Pride is the most talented actor in the theatre of regret. It knows how to perform joy while carrying heartbreak. They walk around pretending the breakup was their choice, pretending they've evolved, pretending it was all for the better. But inside, they're replaying every moment they pushed you away, every time you tried to fix things, every time you reached out hoping they'd meet you halfway. And now that the curtain's closed, they realize you were the one who stayed real when they chose to perform. Imagine someone standing in front of a mirror, hyping themselves up every morning. "I did the right thing. They weren't for me. I'm happier now." But mirrors don't lie, folks. The eyes always give it away. They stare a little longer, blink a little faster, and look away a little too soon. Because deep down, pride might fool the world, but it can't fool reflection. They'll post quotes about healing and moving on to keep up the act. They'll show off new friends, new goals, new adventures. But here's the catch. When something is real, you don't move on from it. You move with it. When something changes you, it doesn't vanish. It echoes. That's why even when they seem fine, your energy still lingers in their habits, in their playlists, in their thoughts before they fall asleep. You might think, if they regret it, why don't they just reach out? But pride doesn't want peace. It wants to win. To reach out means surrendering the illusion of control. It means admitting they were wrong. And for some people, that's unbearable. The Stoics called this the sickness of the ego, the inability to face truth without defense. Pride says, "I'll die before I apologize." Regret whispers, "You already are." Let's be real. We've all been there. We've all worn that mask once. We've all told ourselves, "I don't care," when we cared deeply. We've all walked away just to see if they'd follow. Pride makes people do foolish things, and it makes them suffer quietly afterward. They'll even try to convince others that losing you was their victory. But every time they retell that story, they're really trying to convince themselves. The lie that pride tells is simple. You can't lose something if you act like you never wanted it. But that's not strength, that's fear wearing armor. True strength, as Epictetus said, isn't about pretending to be unaffected. It's about mastering yourself despite what you feel. They'll see your calmness now and tell themselves it's fake. They'll say, oh, they're just trying to look strong. But what they don't realize is that's not an act. That's evolution. You've faced the storm, and now you're the calm. You've learned that silence can say more than speeches, that peace is louder than chaos. And that scares them, because their pride was built on the belief that you'd never stop caring, that you'd always be available, that you'd chase. But when you stopped, when you chose stillness over reaction, something inside them cracked. The control they thought they had slipped through their fingers. And now, every time they see you calm, happy, or simply unmoved, they feel that sting of regret rising like smoke from under their armor. They might not show it, but they feel it. They'll try to distract themselves. New people, new hobbies, new habits. But nothing fills the space that authenticity leaves behind. You can't replace something real with repetition. You can't fake the peace they felt with you. And deep down, they know it. Pride won't let them say, I miss you. But it'll make them scroll through your profile at 2 a.m. Pride won't let them apologize, but it'll make them stare at your messages they never replied to. Pride won't let them come back, but it'll keep them from moving forward. That's the paradox. They trap themselves trying to look free. So if you've ever doubted your impact because they act indifferent, stop. The ones pretending the hardest are usually the ones hurting the most. They can block you, ignore you, even badmouth you. But the truth doesn't bend for anyone's ego. The mind can play games, but the soul remembers what the mind tries to forget. You have to understand, folks, their pride is not power, it's fear. Fear of looking weak, fear of being vulnerable, fear of facing a version of themselves that realizes they pushed away something sacred. The moment they let that mask slip, regret will pour out like water from a cracked dam. And you just stay still, stay silent. Because silence forces the truth out of people. When there's no one left to argue with, no one left to blame, they're forced to confront themselves. And that's when regret becomes unbearable. So don't chase their confession. Don't wait for them to admit it. Just keep walking in peace. The same pride that kept them from valuing you will one day make them miss you in silence, because pride always pays its debt with loneliness. Type this in the comments right now. I choose peace over pride. Say it like you mean it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your calm isn't weakness. It's wisdom, because when you rise above ego, you don't just win the breakup. You win your freedom. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're uncovering something even deeper, how their need to look happy for the world becomes the very chain that keeps them stuck in regret. Number 3. The social mirage. Some people don't move on, they just perform it for an audience. My friends, let's be honest, most people today don't heal. They advertise healing. They'll post quotes about self-love, pictures from parties, new adventures, and captions like "new chapter" or "no regrets." But if you listen closely, you can hear the cracks between the words. The truth doesn't always scream, it leaks. They don't actually want peace. They want applause. They want the world to look at their profile and think, wow, they're thriving. Because in this age of social media, attention has become the new validation, and silence feels like failure. So what do? They build a digital illusion, a highlight reel of happiness, hoping no one sees the ache behind it. It's funny, isn't it? They'll block you, unfollow you, act like you don't exist, and then post something 2 days later about protecting their energy. Folks, that's not peace. That's performance. That's their way of saying, please believe I'm over it, because deep down they still can't convince themselves. Imagine a magician on stage. He waves his hand, makes the coin disappear, and the crowd gasps. But you, standing close enough, can see it's hidden in his sleeve. That's them right now. They want you and everyone else to believe the love disappeared. But you and I know they're just hiding it where they think no one will look. They post smiling pictures, not because they're happy, but because they need to look happy before you do. It's an unspoken race to prove who won the breakup, who moved on first, who's more desirable, more successful, more unbothered. But as Marcus Aurelius said, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth. And the truth is, the show isn't for you. It's for themselves, because when they stop posting, when they stop performing, the silence gets too loud. They start to feel the weight of what they lost, so they keep feeding the illusion, adding pictures, stories, new people, all to distract from the same emptiness they pretend doesn't exist. The tragedy: it never works. You can't outpost your pain. You can't filter your way out of regret. Let me tell you what really happens. They go out with friends, laugh for the camera, maybe even flirt with someone new. But when they get home and that laughter fades, they stare at their screen longer than they'd admit. They check who viewed their story, hoping your name appears. They scroll through your page without liking a single thing, pretending it's accidental. They might even post something they know will catch your attention, just to see if you'll take the bait. It's not confidence, it's craving. You ever notice how they suddenly get active online right after you disappear? That's not coincidence, that's energy. They feel your silence like gravity. It pulls at their pride, their ego, their curiosity. They can't stand not being seen by the one person who once saw them fully. That's why they act louder, post faster, and smile harder, because your quiet has become their mirror, and they don't like what they see in it. But here's the lie they're living. They think if they can make everyone else believe they're happy, they might start believing it too. Yet happiness built on pretending is fragile. It cracks the moment they run out of distractions. The Stoics understood this long before Instagram existed. True peace has nothing to prove. It doesn't post, it doesn't compare, it doesn't compete. It just is. And that's where your strength comes in, my friends. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to match their energy or decode every post. You're not part of the show anymore. You've left the stage while they're still performing. Let them have the crowd. You're walking toward peace, and peace doesn't need an audience, because the greatest power move is silence. You see, while they're busy trying to prove they've won, you're out here learning to detach, to grow, to reclaim your focus. And the longer you stay grounded, the more their illusion begins to crumble. The applause fades, the friends get busy, the attention slows down, and suddenly they're left alone with the truth. The show's over, and the emptiness is still there. It's not that they don't regret it, they just don't know how to face it, because regret doesn't look good in pictures. It doesn't fit into a caption. It lives in the quiet moments, the 2 a.m. scrolls, the songs they skip because they remind them of you, the way their smile fades a little too fast when the camera turns off. And one day they'll realize that all those posts meant nothing, because no matter how many likes they get, none of it can fill the space you left. As Seneca once said, he who indulges empty praise is empty himself. So the next time you see them acting fine online, remember, they're just building a mirage to hide their thirst for validation. Don't be fooled by the reflection. You're not missing out. They are. They traded something real for something that just looks real. Hold your peace, hold your frame, and stay grounded, because the higher you rise, the clearer their illusion becomes. You'll see it for what it is, a performance fueled by pride, watched by people who don't even know the story. But you do. You lived it. You grew from it. Type this in the comments right now. I choose peace over performance. Say it like you mean it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you don't need to prove anything. You are calm after the storm, and they're still chasing the wind. Stay with me, folks, because next we're going to uncover the secret signals they send when that performance starts breaking apart, when the mask slips, when their pride begins to crack, and their regret finally starts to show. Number 4. The emotional ping theory. When someone can't speak their truth, they send it in fragments. My friends, regret rarely knocks on the front door. It sneaks in through signals, tiny, scattered, almost invisible signs that they can't help but leave behind. You've seen it before, haven't you? A random like on your old post, a song on their playlist that used to be yours, a sudden story upload right after you posted something. That's not coincidence. It's communication disguised as coincidence. They're not ready to say, I miss you. So instead, they whisper it through digital breadcrumbs. That's what I call the emotional ping theory. Their attempt to reach you without actually reaching you. It's pride wrestling with longing, ego fighting emotion. And the result? They start sending small pings of energy into your world just to see if you'll still respond. Imagine two planets that used to orbit in perfect sync. Then one drifts away, thinking it'll find new gravity. But after a while, it starts to feel the emptiness, the silence of space. So it sends out little signals, faint radio waves, hoping to catch a response. That's exactly what's happening. They're trying to see if your energy still answers theirs. It starts small. They view your story after weeks of ignoring you. They like something from months ago, pretend it's an accident. They post something vague like, some lessons hurt more than others, hoping you'll know it's about you. And when you don't respond, they go quiet again, pretending it never happened. But make no mistake, those pings mean one thing. They're still emotionally invested. The mind can lie, but the nervous system can't. When someone feels regret, it leaks through behavior. They'll check your profile, not because they want to talk, but because seeing you gives them a dose of comfort. Like revisiting a place that once felt safe. They'll convince themselves it's just curiosity, but deep down, it's longing. And when you don't respond, that longing burns, because silence is a mirror. It reflects everything they're trying not to feel. That's why some will even block and unblock you multiple times, just to feel in control of something that's already lost. That's not hate, that's obsession disguised as avoidance. They'll ask mutual friends about you, pretending it's just small talk. Hey, how are they doing these days? But what they're really asking is, do they still think about me? They're looking for proof that they still matter, that they still live somewhere in your mind. And here's the ironic part. They think these small actions go unnoticed, but energy doesn't need explanation. You can feel when someone's trying to reconnect without words. It's in the timing. It's in the random messages after silence. It's in the way their posts suddenly start aligning with your mood or schedule. They're testing the waters without admitting they ever left the shore. It's strange, isn't it? How people who claim to be done with you always seem to find ways to show up indirectly. They'll tell themselves, I'm just being friendly, or I was just checking. But those little pings reveal a simple truth. They're not done processing you. You're still in their emotional system like a song stuck on repeat. But here's where most people go wrong. They see these signs and think it's time to chase again. No, this is where you don't move. You don't reply. You don't validate their comfort, because the moment you do, you become their emotional safety net again, and regret loses its lesson. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you." That means when they ping you from the shadows, your job isn't to answer, it's to evolve, to let your silence teach them what your words never could. And trust me, they feel your silence. They feel your energy pulling away. That's why they keep sending signals. They're trying to check if the door is still open. But the truth is, it's not about whether they regret it. It's about whether you've outgrown the version of yourself that waited for closure. Let them send pings, let them orbit, let them wonder. You stay still, grounded, like the mountain they used to call home. Because every time you choose calm over reaction, you reinforce a message louder than any text they could ever send. You don't need me to feel whole anymore. Eventually, they'll realize that your silence isn't punishment, it's proof of peace. And peace is terrifying to people who thrive on emotional noise. They'll start missing your steadiness, your presence, your energy that didn't demand attention but carried gravity. That's when the real regret sets in, not when you disappear, but when they realize they can't reach you even when they try. You see, folks, the emotional ping theory isn't just about technology, it's about human psychology. When someone loses something valuable, their mind won't rest until it knows if it can get it back. But your job is to show them that some doors close not out of anger, but out of evolution. So when you see those small signals, don't react. Smile. Because what they're really saying is, I can't replace what I lost. And the more you don't respond, the more they're forced to confront that truth. Type this in the comments right now. I choose silence as my power. Say it like you mean it, because silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy, it's dignity, it's the sound of someone who's done explaining their worth. Stay with me, my friends, because next we're going deeper into what happens when your silence becomes too loud to ignore, when your calm starts haunting them and they begin to mirror your every move without even realizing it. Number 5. The mirror effect. When you become still enough, they start hearing the echoes of their own chaos. My friends, here's something most people never realize. Silence doesn't just make them wonder what you're thinking. It makes them start acting like you. They begin to mirror your moves, your calm, your rhythm, your stillness. That's what I call the mirror effect. When your energy becomes so steady, so grounded, it throws theirs off balance. Because deep down, they expected you to crumble, not evolve. They expected reaction, not reflection. But you gave them the opposite, and now they don't know how to handle it. See, when people lose someone who truly loved them, it creates a psychological vacuum. They try to fill it with noise, distractions, new people, new routines. But when you go quiet, they lose their emotional compass. They start studying you without realizing it. They begin sleeping when you sleep, staying up when you do, posting when you post. Even across miles or time zones, they start syncing with your energy. Why? Because energy doesn't lie, it transmits. They might have walked away from you, but they can't walk away from what's still inside them. It's wild, isn't it? They'll tell themselves they don't care, but watch what happens after you stop showing care. Suddenly, they act differently. They start dressing better, working out more, quoting things you used to say. They're not doing that for the world. They're subconsciously doing it for you. Because deep down, they want you to notice that they've changed. They want to prove they're now everything you once hoped they'd be. But the truth is, They're only now realizing what you saw in them all along. Imagine this like a mirror. When you were with them, you reflected love, patience, and peace. You were the steady light they didn't know how to handle. But when you pulled that mirror away, they were forced to face their own reflection. No filters, no validation, just the raw truth of who they are. And that's the hardest sight for anyone to face, themselves. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." That's what your silence did. It stopped explaining and started showing. You became the example, not the lecture. You didn't have to chase, prove, or argue. You became peace itself. And peace has a funny way of exposing everything fake around it. Now, they feel that. They feel the difference between your grounded energy and the chaos they chose. That's why they start mirroring you, because they crave that calm again. Your stillness becomes contagious. Your control becomes magnetic. Even if they don't message you, they're studying you. They're trying to decode how you became so unbothered while they're still haunted by the mess they created. And that's when confusion starts creeping in. They'll ask themselves questions they never dared to before. How did they detach so easily? Did I mean nothing to them? Why does their peace bother me this much? Those questions echo louder than your absence ever could, because you've flipped the dynamic. Now they're the ones trying to understand you. This is the quiet revenge of self-mastery, my friends. You didn't have to block, chase, or post a thing. You simply existed differently, and that shift in your energy changed the entire narrative. That's what Stoicism teaches. Control what you can, your mind, your reaction, your energy, and watch how the world bends around that. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The more you stay calm, the more they panic internally. They start creating scenarios in their head. Did they meet someone new? Did they ever really care? Why aren't they hurting like me? But the truth is, you did hurt. You just decided to heal louder than you suffered. And that difference burns. People expect pain to look dramatic. They expect tears, anger, chaos. But when your pain turns into focus, when you start leveling up instead of lashing out, they don't know how to process it. Because your silence isn't weakness, it's transformation. And transformation makes people regret underestimating you. Remember this, when they mirror you, it's not because they want to be you, it's because they miss the person they were with you. You brought out a version of them they can't recreate alone. You made them feel seen, stable, understood. And now, they're chasing that feeling through imitation, not realization. That's why it looks confusing. They're trying to become the calm they once rejected. Let them. Because the moment they start reflecting you, they start healing through you. Whether they admit it or not, you've already planted something inside them, something real. And one day, when they finally stop pretending, they'll realize your silence wasn't abandonment. It was a mirror showing them who they've become without you. So if you see them suddenly change, don't get emotional. Don't think, maybe they've finally learned. They might have, but that lesson was bought by your distance, not your attention. Your absence taught them what your presence never could. And that's the highest form of impact. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Your reaction, your stillness, became the lesson. You didn't just move on, you evolved. And in doing so, you've become the reflection they can't unsee. So hold your peace. Don't rush to be understood. Let your silence do the talking, because sooner or later they'll realize that every time they tried to imitate you, they were really trying to get closer to the energy they once took for granted. Type this in the comments right now. I reflect peace. Say it with conviction. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you don't chase imitation, you embody transformation. Because when you master your reflection, you stop being haunted by theirs. Stay with me, folks, because next we're diving into the truth they can't escape forever. The rebound phase, where every attempt to replace you starts falling apart. And when that happens, their regret turns from silence into storm. Number 6. The rebound reality check. You can borrow a body, but you can't replace a soul. My friends, here's the harsh truth. When they walk away from something real, they don't heal, they distract. And that distraction almost always comes wearing a new face. The rebound, the I'm fine now, the illusion that they've moved on. But underneath it all, it's not love, it's avoidance, it's anesthesia. It's them trying to silence the echo of what they lost by drowning it in noise that doesn't last. At first, the rebound feels like a victory. It's fast, exciting, intoxicating, like jumping into cold water after standing in fire. It shocks the system. It gives temporary relief. But as every Stoic knows, relief isn't healing. Relief fades. Healing transforms. And once the thrill fades, they're left standing in front of a truth they can't run from. You can't build peace on top of denial. They'll convince themselves that this new person is better for them. They'll say things like, "It's different this time," or "We just connect so easily." Of course it's easy, because there's no depth yet. There's no history, no accountability, no truth. It's like painting over a crack instead of fixing the wall. For a while, it looks fine, but eventually the paint starts peeling and the damage underneath reveals itself. And when that happens, when the honeymoon ends and the silence creeps back in, they start remembering you. Not just the good times, but the peace, the safety, the laughter that came without effort. Because let's be real, what they had with you wasn't just a relationship. It was an emotional mirror. It was growth, and growth requires depth. You can't fake that with someone new, no matter how many filters or captions they throw at it. I've seen it happen countless times. They post a new person, hoping it'll sting you. But what they don't realize is they're actually posting their own denial. They're not saying, "I'm happy." They're saying, "Please believe I didn't make a mistake." And that's the quiet tragedy of rebound energy. It's not love, it's performance under pressure. Seneca once said, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." That's exactly what happens in a rebound. They try to fill every moment, every void, every silence with someone new, but in trying to be everywhere emotionally, they end up being nowhere fully. Their heart's not present. It's haunted. Every compliment they hear feels familiar, but not the same. Every touch feels good, but lacks the spark. Every conversation reminds them of what real connection used to feel like, with you. And here's the part that most people never talk about. The rebound isn't about you, it's about their ego. They need to prove to themselves and to the world that they're still desirable, still wanted, still in control. But what's really happening is that they're trying to outrun the ghost of regret. And as every Stoic will tell you, what you avoid will chase you harder. Eventually, they'll start comparing, not openly, of course, but in their mind. They'll notice the small things, the way you used to listen when no one else did, the calm you brought into a room, the way you handled chaos without drama. And the more they compare, the emptier the rebound feels, because you can't fake depth. You can't replace presence, you can't duplicate energy. And here's where the reality check hits hard. One day, something will remind them of you, a scent, a place, a song, and it'll hit them like a flash flood. because regret doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just shows up mid-laughter, mid-conversation, mid-date with someone else, and suddenly the illusion shatters. They might try to hide it. They might double down, act like everything's great, post even more, love even harder. But deep down, the more they force it, the more it breaks. Because what they're trying to do is rebuild the emotional connection you both had, but without the foundation. That's like trying to replant a tree after cutting off its roots. It might stand for a while, but it won't survive long. The truth is, real connection leaves residue. It leaves fingerprints on the soul that no new person can wash away, and the longer they deny it, the more it eats at them. That's why so many people suddenly come back months later. It's not sudden, it's delayed recognition. Regret just took its time to mature. But here's what I want you to remember, folks. Your job isn't to wait for that realization. Your job is to rise. Because while they're stuck in cycles of repetition, you're breaking cycles of pain. You're growing through what they ran from. And that's the difference between healing and escaping. They escaped the relationship, but you faced yourself. They distracted themselves, but you rebuilt yourself. They looked for replacement. You created renewal. And that's why, even if they come back one day, they'll see something they can't touch anymore. You've outgrown the space where they left you. So don't let their rebound shake your peace. Don't let their posts make you question your worth. You're not in competition. You're in evolution. And evolution doesn't rush to prove itself. It just keeps growing until the comparison becomes pointless. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to not be like your enemy. In other words, don't stoop to imitation. Stay true. Stay calm. Let your silence speak volumes. Because one day, when their distractions fade and the noise stops, they'll realize that all along, you weren't just a chapter. You were the book they didn't finish. Type this in the comments right now. I rise in silence. Say it, mean it, live it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your peace was never dependent on who stayed. It was born from who you became after they left. Stay with me, my friends, because next we'll uncover what happens when avoidance turns into obsession, when their silence isn't peace anymore, but a cage built from the regret they tried so hard to deny. Number 7. The avoidant paradox. What you run from stays with you. What you face dissolves. My friends, this one hits deep, because this is where silence turns into suffering and running turns into regret. This is the avoidant paradox. It's when they act like they've moved on, but deep down, every step they take away from you drags the weight of what they refuse to face. They hide their feelings, thinking avoidance equals control. But what they don't realize is, the more they suppress, the louder the truth gets. They'll tell themselves they're fine. They'll say, I don't care anymore. They'll bury their emotions under routines, people, distractions. But you can't outrun what lives inside you. You can mute your phone. You can block someone's number. You can delete pictures, but you can't block your own mind. The memories live there, tucked between moments of silence, waiting for a quiet night to rise again. Avoidant people think detachment means freedom, but what it really means is delay. It's emotional debt collecting interest. Every feeling they avoid compounds quietly until one day it demands to be paid. That's why months later, when the noise fades and the rebound loses color, they suddenly start breaking down. Out of nowhere, they remember your laugh. Out of nowhere, they dream about you. Out of nowhere, they start wondering why you haven't reached out. That's not out of nowhere. That's the debt coming due. Picture this. A person stuffing clothes into a closet before guests arrive. Every time the door won't shut, they just push harder. Eventually, the door bursts open and everything comes spilling out. That's what happens with their emotions. They keep pushing it all down until one small memory, one tiny reminder, blows the door wide open, and now they're drowning in the very feelings they swore they didn't have. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But avoidants do the opposite. They try to control outside events. The breakup, the silence, without ever mastering their own mind. They think not texting you means they're in power. They think not acknowledging you means they've won. But avoidance isn't strength. It's fear with fancy armor. And the paradox is this: their silence is supposed to make them feel strong, but it only makes them weaker. The more they avoid, the more they obsess. The more they suppress, the more it grows. They end up thinking about you more now than they did when you were still around. Because unresolved emotions don't disappear. They echo. You ever notice how they try to act unbothered, but their energy gives them away? The longer they avoid you, the more they mimic your stillness. They start dressing differently, talking differently, posting the same kind of quotes you used to share. That's not coincidence. That's the guilt of someone haunted by what they couldn't say. Their ego wants distance, but their spirit wants connection. That's the paradox. They crave what they ran from. They'll tell themselves they're protecting their peace, but deep down they're protecting their pride, because reaching out means admitting they were wrong. It means admitting they miss you, and that truth feels heavier than silence. But let me tell you this: truth denied never dies. It just waits, and the longer they wait to face it, the more power it gains over them. So while they're avoiding you, they're also avoiding themselves. Every time they resist the urge to check your profile, they end up doing it anyway. Every time they promise not to think about you, you cross their mind even stronger. That's what happens when you try to bury emotion. It grows roots, and eventually it shows up in every part of their life. In the new relationship they can't fully enjoy. In the laughter that feels forced. In the quiet moments they can't handle. Here's the truth, my friends. Avoidance doesn't mean they've moved on. It means they're stuck. They're frozen in the moment they walked away, trapped in the illusion that distance equals peace. But peace isn't running. Peace is accepting. And they won't find that until they stop running from the mirror of their own choices. Now, here's where you come in. You're on the other side of that paradox. You've faced the pain. You didn't hide from it. You sat in the silence, felt the discomfort, and turned it into growth. That's why you're evolving while they're looping. That's why your calm irritates them. It's the peace they can't find. You did the hard thing they refused to do. You confronted your emotions instead of running from them. That's why Stoicism is so powerful. It teaches you to hold the storm instead of fleeing from it, to stay grounded while others scatter. And that's exactly what you've done. You've stopped chasing what's running from itself. You've stopped seeking closure from chaos. And that's how you win, not by making them regret it, but by refusing to live in their loop of denial. So if they ever come back, and some will, it won't be out of love at first. It'll be out of exhaustion, out of confusion, out of wanting the peace they once felt in your presence. But by then, you'll be different. You'll be beyond the version of yourself that needed their validation. You'll realize that you were never chasing them. You were chasing your own reflection through them. And now you've finally caught it. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." They craved control and ended up empty. You craved peace and found freedom. That's the difference between their story and yours. So stand tall. You've already outgrown the need to be understood. You've already turned heartbreak into wisdom. Let them keep running. You're already home. Type this in the comments right now. I am free from what avoids me. Say it with pride. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that your peace isn't dependent on their apology. It's rooted in your discipline. If this message hit you, if you felt it deep down, then do me one favor. Press the like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so we can keep growing together. Because this journey doesn't end here, folks. This is just the beginning of your evolution. You're not losing them. You're finding you.